Ordinarily on Close of Play, when we do an Ashes review, I'm joined by the ex-England international Geraint Jones, but currently I can just see his chairs, so I'm not entirely sure where he's gone. Let's put out a call for him. Jonesy, where are you?
I'm not here.
And right here is where exactly? Where are you doing under your desk? Have you dropped something?
No, that's where I've been for quite a bit of the day after watching what I have today. I've got in a strop and I've gone under the desk not to watch it.
Australia closed day 2, 378 for 6. A roller coaster day at the Gabba. What's made you so angry and so desperate to sort of hide away from the world at large?
I don't know if angry is the right word. I suppose frustrated. Frustrated watching tactics would probably be the main bit of it, with the way that our bowlers didn't get it right, but we kept doing it. And then it took a break. It took that lunch tea break for us to regroup. Then we got a bit of control, gave it away again, and then went back to a method at the end of the day, which was giving runs away. So I suppose it's frustration of inconsistency.
What should they be bowling?
Wow, it is easy for us to sit here and look at it and get frustrated. I 100% agree with it, and it's become but for me as a traditionalist, that method is the hardest place to bat. If you can bang a length over and over and over, a good length, which is not dragging, not a half volley coming forward and not sending someone back, that for me, top of off. Whenever we used to do team meetings, you'd go through the batting order, and by the end of, you got down to number 11 and you'd have TOO for every batter, top of off, because that's the hardest place to bat. You can't score quite quickly. I get it that the games move forward and batters finding methods, but consistently hammering that line length is difficult for a batter. You then are forcing a batter to try something different. If you are giving loads of different variations of length, and we didn't get it right in that first session. England clearly got it wrong because they regrouped and they came out with a change of plan after that longer break. But the first instance when you have this hard pink kookaburra ball, when everyone says that's at its best, we unfortunately weren't at our best and didn't adapt quick enough, didn't get consistency. We've got all those bowlers. Keep chopping and changing until someone can settle in and do a job for you. Jimmy Anderson, best fast bowler we've ever produced, and, with his weight of wickets, that's what he did over and over and over. Okay, so that's, I suppose, this is going back to being a has-been. That sort of method. I do understand that it's moved forward, and the short ball theory is one that unsettles batters to a degree and creates wicket. But around that, what's happened? A level of consistency needs to happen. You go to short ball because when you're not doing what you need to do well enough, I think.
I think we need to focus on the bowlers today, because in previous episodes of our review, we've always predominantly focused on the batters and what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Ben Stokes let's call it T, at the end of the second session, was visibly frustrated with what had happened. Bryden Castle had gone for the 11 and over, I think it was at that point, or no, 7 and over, sorry, off his 11 overs. And clearly whatever plans Stokes had discussed with his bowlers hadn't been put into place. Is it time now to actually look at the bowlers and say, what are you doing?
I think, well, the questions will be asked, won't they? Because it's not just this test match, it's the second innings of the first one as well.
Yeah, too short.
So you're now seeing a level of inconsistent performance, which you can't let happen, because I thought we did okay with the bat to get what we did, 330. And then momentum is a massive thing. And then if you go out there and you give away momentum early, it's so hard to claw back. And so that's what they'll be looking at with that bowling group, is the lengths mainly, okay, and yes, we lost Mark Wood for this one, but we're bringing in quite similar bowlers, right? And they're not quite doing it consistently all the time. So yes, their questions will be asked, but then it's who would do you press panic and replace, or do we carry on? But they've just got to be better.
Bowlers bowling pairs. You mentioned Jimmy Anderson then. He had Stuart Broad at the other end. I mean, Broad and Anderson, together were a formidable bowling attack, and they bowled, bowling players. And I assume that they would have had a discussion prior to, stepping on the field to say, right, you do this, I'll do that, and together we'll get it done. Willis, Botham back in the day, McGrath, Lee, McGrath, Gillespie. I mean, it goes in the annals of time. There have been bowling pairs. England doesn't seem to have an established duo at the moment.
No, we lost those two greats in a short period of time, didn't we? And and so that's difficult. But the other thing that they also did very well, and I've heard them both talking about this, is that they spoke and they summed up what was needed out in the middle quite quickly. So they would bowl for a little bit, might have even taken an over, but very quickly they would communicate around, this is the length that we need to bowl. Okay, so that summary of the wicket as a bowler, what is it how can we make this most difficult for the batter? Okay, this is the length. And then the skill level comes into executing it. And the one thing from watching from afar is we don't see those sort of little interactions and comments going on, and that's but it's the thing you can question, because it lasted so long in that first session this morning with us bowling the wrong length. What was that happening? Why weren't they correcting it quicker than they did?
Will Jacks is in the side as a bowler, as a batsman bowler. If you're batting at 8, you're in for your bowling, aren't you? As opposed to another batter. But he's bowling 1 over all day. Any reason for that you can see?
Not really. You're exactly right. He's in to bowl. That was the whole thing. We've sort of spoken about Shoaib Bashir, and they've said, he is this is a situational selection. Shoaib is still our number one, but for this situation, for these circumstances, we think, we've gone for Will Jacks. Well, today was a situation where why didn't you experiment, with that slower bowler? When you bowl consistently with that short ball theory, often all right, let's take the pace off. Okay, let's see if we can entice the batters to make a mistake. Like, okay, we'll go quick at one end, slow at the other. Just that variation, I think, and that was a little bit of my frustration as well, is that the variational stuff wasn't quite there. We sort of went all in one way, and you're right. Hopefully we just haven't picked him for his batting and his fielding, because that was a sensational catch. It was. You talk about momentum shifters, and he was part of that, and that sort of stuff does make a difference. But ultimately, if he's not going to bowl on a day like today, when is he going to bowl? And then again, we're far away. Australia haven't gone with a spinner, so there's clearly a decision made by both teams that spin isn't a potent threat on this wicket. But what it could have been, and if you get Will Jacks has played a lot of one-day cricket, so you'd argue he should have the ability to tie a batter up. One-day cricket is all about sort of putting a pressure on, building up, making a batsman make mistakes. And so today, Test match cricket needed something at one end just to dry it up for a bit. The Aussies, you had Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne going at 5 runs and over, even close to 6. That's not something they've done in their career. And so for them to be able to do that, how could you? And yes, they might be terrific players of spin, but let's see it. Let's change it up completely.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, throughout the whole innings, they've gone at over 5 and over. Their 378's come off 70 odd overs or something. So clearly, whatever England tried, yes, there was a flurry of wickets in the last session, but clearly, whatever England has tried, and that's without trying the spinner, really, hasn't necessarily worked.
No, because I said in earlier pods that at top level, pace doesn't particularly worry a lot of batters.
Yeah.
You know, these top class batters. Yes, it will get them out, and we show that. We have some short pitch bowling dismissals. But what batters now, because of innovation in the game, you know, Jake Weatherall ramping for 6 early on, they've got tools. Whereas for me, that wasn't really a part of the era I played in. You had to duck and you sway, and you know, Geoffrey Boycott called me the happy hooker because I was compulsive, and he was probably right. And that's what we relied on. Whereas these days they're willing to Cameron Green-esque expose stumps, use the pace of the ball, get inside it, you know, play all these variational shots. And so then your protection of where you're going is that way. And then, but as a bowler, you can't pitch it up. So you're not. I know we saw a bowled, and I think that was quite good bowling. I think they actually set Cameron Green. Yeah, I think they set Cameron Green up quite nicely because he kept on. He followed him, kept on sending him wider outside leg stump, and then went bosh for that middle and off stump where he couldn't reach it. So for me, that was some intelligent, some bowling. There's some thought process behind that. But the other side of it, but also the pink ball. If it gets, now they talk about it getting soft after 20 overs, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, and so flip it round. If it gets soft, it should be harder to score. It should be harder to score because if you hit a good length, and, you know, and you limit to what they can do, you put, or you stack your fielders there, and then you force a mistake that way. But I just think by the giving that width and height, you're creating ability for good batters to manipulate and use that to their advantage.
Do you think that with the batters, now we always say about short form cricket and it's changed the way that they approach the game and all that sort of stuff. Do you think that's true also of the bowlers? Do you think nowadays bowlers don't have the patience to set batsmen up as they would have done in your day?
Not when conditions are a bit benign. You know, we now, the game, it's about moving the game forward. So, whereas potentially in my day we would have settled for line and length with the odd bouncer, you know, okay, let's bowl 2 bouncers and over.
Yeah.
You know, there weren't too many occasions I recall, other than actually playing under Rob Key, we did it a bit. You know, because he was someone who wanted the game progressing, wanted the game moving forward, and he, you know, and he wanted to challenge the batter. So, but for me, it's Test match cricket. You know, you've got 5 days to do this. Okay, at certain times, we need to slow this down. We need to slow them down. Let's change the pace of it. And how can we do that? Okay, well, let's make it harder. Let's go and let's stack the field a bit straighter. Right, and if they start playing ramps and stuff like that, well, okay, you know, that's the modern game. That's difficult. But for me, the traditional bit of it, making it hard work for a batter, we're not willing to do that for long enough.
No, that's right. I mean, but if you look at the McCullum Stokes attitude to the game, it's positivity. You know, and Ben Stokes, he's got a great. You can't knock Ben Stokes for what he's done. He's got the best. You know, his win rate as a captain's 59%, I think, since he's been. And Rawley, your old captain, was 51, and he's always because of 05 and stuff, and you know, he's touted as being one of the best captains England has ever had. But do you think that because of the mindset and nature of McCullum and Stokes, England aren't going to play the setup game? They are going to go wham bam, thank you, ma'am, and we want to get this done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. That's their method. We went from Alistair Cook and Joe Root, who weren't as adventurous as a captain.
And Straussy as well.
And so we've got Stokes and McCullum who are willing to sort of go all in, you know, gambling terms. They're willing to take a punt. Whereas, that's where I do think Stokes has been very good with the way he's, you know, there's been a lot of matches where he's been, you know, given loads of sort of plaudits for how well and how innovative he's been as a captain.
Yeah.
You know, and that's absolutely right. What worry is now, has he almost given himself a blueprint though? You know, if it doesn't work, right, drop spread, we're going, you know, we're going bouncers.
Yeah.
Whereas what he was so good at when he first took over and those you know, those early years, you didn't know what he was doing. You didn't know what fields he was going to set up, but we haven't really seen many of those. Okay, we're going to bowl full and straight, and I'm going to have 2 catching mid wickets,
Hmm.
bits like that, or I'm going to have a really pressurised field with a random fielder somewhere.
Yeah.
Has it become predictable? I don't know.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And also, has England, have we sort of again gone back to that make the best player captain sort of approach to things? Because the danger that Ben Stokes has got is the reliance on him is so great to perform as well as to be innovative, to make decisions that are going to win England Test matches. That ultimately something's going to have to, he's not Superman. Something is going to fail at some point. At the moment, his bowling's fantastic. He hasn't got that many runs, and his captaincy has become one-dimensional or two-dimensional. Do you think he needs to give one of those things up?
No, because he's inspirational leader, and he's fantastic at all elements. But just at times it's the nature of cricket, and it's getting them all to work together at the same time. And personally, yeah, as you said, his bowl. I think he's most comfortable with his bowling. Actually, he can roll up and he can get that going pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Batting's a different dynamic, and talked about in yesterday's pod about his frustration when he was run out that his batting he's not producing, because you think of Ben Stokes and we think back to World Cups, what we think back to Ashes, winning knocks that he's done, and so that's in Ben Stokes's mind.
Yeah.
I've done, quite rightly, he can recall on some incredible batting
Oh, yeah.
knocks that he's done. And so I think if it doesn't happen for him quite quickly, that's where it leads to his frustration with that element of it. But then the
So,
bowling captaincy side of it, it's how he doesn't have a massive control. He can dictate to a level, but he's not letting go of it.
sure.
And so those that are letting go of it need to help him out.
Are teams, though, not a reflection of their leader? So, i.e., if Ben Stokes is frustrated short term, just get it done. We want to make it happen. I'll bring myself on to do it if you can't do it. Approach to things, putting more pressure on the bowlers to perform, and then we have situations where they don't perform.
That's the balance, isn't it? If you as a captain are frustrated, if you as a captain are, feeling that pressure, the best captains, and Michael Vaughan was great for me as that captain, is your personal persona remained quite level. And we all know Ben Stokes is an emotional character. We've seen that throughout his career, sort of on and off the field stuff. So we know he's an emotional guy, and it's so hard to keep those emotions in check. And so, yes, that will rub off on his team. They will be able to pick up, and he might be making decisions a little bit based on emotion. All right, what should we do? But the one thing he pretty positive and go, he's got the backing of his whole team. They will understand it, and within team environments now, they will understand each other's behaviours. And so they will understand if Stokesy starts to get a bit heated, right? These are our options of dealing with it. And he will understand that himself. The sports psych guys would have spoken to him about when you get into this emotional state, the effect it has on your team is this. So these are some methods for you to deal with it. So it will all be there in the background, but then in the middle of an Ashes test where it's not quite going right, all that sort of psychology and stuff, is he going to sit at mid-off and go, oh, okay, I remember what the psych said to me. Okay, let's inflict that. No, you're going to, I want these guys out. It's not working. What the heck's going on?
So what's the point of the vice captain?
Well, I suppose that they are a sounding board with that. That the vice captain is that person that potentially comes up, goes, Stokesy, listen, mate, have you thought about this? You're sort of that offerance of, sometimes it can be the opposite. Sometimes it's saying, yeah, we're on the right track here. It's that little, have you thought about, what's the plan for? So that for me is your vice captain is someone who can be a bit of a voice of reason, or gives you a nugget that you hadn't thought about, which then makes you think and go, actually, am I doing the right thing? Yeah, or okay, let's have a change.
Yeah, yesterday I think we spoke about the glue in the side, and after Joe Root, you thought it was Ollie Pope, and I think that's exactly right. Who was the vice captain? Who was the opposite, if you like, to Ben Stokes, and possibly could have given a more reasoned approach. But now Harry Brook is the vice captain. This isn't a let's bag Harry Brook show, but I would suggest he's a quite similar character to Ben Stokes. So do you think that Ollie Pope should have actually remained vice captain for the reason that he can give that opposite view to Ben Stokes that he might need in when things are getting heated out there?
No, because I'm not in that group. I'm not in that environment, and so they've made a change for whatever reason, and maybe it's because Ollie Pope is a bit to the other way. He's too mild, and whereas with Harry Brook, he may be willing to challenge, and so with that and a strong personality, and so actually, Harry Harry doesn't give a stuff. He's going to go up to Ben Stokes and say, "Oi, Stokesy," whereas actually would Ollie Pope have sat back? So whatever they've made those again, possibly down to analysis of individual characteristics, but the one thing I suppose.
Yeah, go on, carry on. Sorry. Go on.
So the one thing from TV is because of ad breaks and stuff like that in between overs, we don't see those interactions, which is what happens in them as you run past each other, or is that you just see focus on Ben Stokes and you just think he's making all these decisions, but there will be a lot of player interaction happening.
Who was Varney's vice captain in your side?
Trescothick.
And what about in 06-07?
Now you're putting me under pressure. So Freddie captain, probably I must have been Straussy.
Right, okay.
Because Straussy then took over. Because there was debate about for that series, should Straussy have done it? And we sort of, and I wasn't involved in the decision, but Freddie had such an impact in 05 and his character, he was that leader. He was a Ben Stokes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but with Freddie, was it too much on him because should we just let him play? Stokes is a slightly different character in that method to Freddie, I think. With that, I think Freddie would have probably liked a crack at captaincy, maybe again, as he learned stuff. If you had Freddie now, being able to captain Freddie the player, so that's who did that one, and so Straussy went on to be that incredible captain he was as well.
Do you want your true or false question? It's a modern one. It's not 1890 anything now. Ready? Jofra Archer made his Test debut on day 2 of the 2019 Ashes at Edgbaston. True or false?
False. With nothing to back it up whatsoever.
Oh, so you're still at 100%, which is really annoying because he did make his Test debut on day 2 because day 1 was a washout of the 19 Ashes, but it was at Lords. It's all Edgbaston's never the second Test, is it? But gut instinct.
It was a random place, Edgbaston. Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah. So.
See, now you're just justifying it. You know, you guessed, and now you're trying to tell me you worked it out. Right? Yeah. Good. Let's. I need to find one where I'm going to break this 100%, and it gets so obscure and so random in the next couple of days. You're going to be so annoyed. Talking about being annoyed, we dropped 4 or 5 catches. I think today, Duckett a couple. There's one that went through Joe Root that maybe was Jamie Smith's catch. Cast dropped one, but let's focus on, all right, yes, catches, no one means to do it, but they're very costly. Let's stick with Jamie Smith because we spoke about Alex Carey yesterday. There's quite a lot on X afterwards. Jason Gillespie saying that hands down Carey's the best keeper in the world. Yeah, fine, very good. Jamie Smith, that dropped off. Who did he drop? He dropped Head, didn't he? Going to his left. What did you make of that? A, as a catchable catch, and B, let's just then talk about wicket keepers generally in terms of preference on the side. What did you prefer? So let's go. Let's start though with the catch itself.
Very catchable. and one as a wicket keeper. You could tell from his reaction he expected to gobble that up. To get a bit technical geeky.
Mm-hmm.
So it was round the wicket, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So which has become a modern method a lot.
Yeah.
Freddie was outstanding for it.
Yeah.
The one thing as a keeper you've got to be careful of that is where you go. So, and Smith got a little bit in towards the stumps because yeah, and so then you're talking about momentum then. So you're taking you this way, and then the nick, and he was a little bit behind it, wasn't he? He just wasn't quite. He was a frame sort of too late on it for it to get right in the smack, and that was a little bit of momentum going inside. So places that make you do or bring that into are generally grounds that have an angle on it. Lords would do it. You know, where I played so much of my cricket, Canterbury, slope. So that adaptation to a slope dragging you in. So it was always I was always very mindful of the angle of the bowler and where I position myself to try and avoid that weight shift going the wrong way. And again, we talked about mindset of wicket keeping. You know, my mindset when I stood up after having a chat with Jack Russell.
Yeah.
My mindset to bowlers was I always anticipated outside edges.
Okay.
You know, and that was the way I set myself up, and that was the way all my prep was pretty much based around. Okay, hunting that outside edge. And so when a bowler changed an angle, that was my first thought process: is where do I need to be in a position to be anticipating that outside edge? And especially with, round the wicket, cricket's about angles. You know, you've got to work out the angles. The better you can work it out, the easier the game is. So that ball coming round the wicket, the angle is that it's going to potentially travel over the stumps. I'm aware of that, but I'm not committing to it because what the bowler's trying to do is exactly what happened: straighten up, catch the outside edge, and then it travelled towards it. And so that's the thinking process. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, if Jamie Smith goes, I was just caught a bit slightly wrong-footed, but he is coming under a bit of pressure. You know, I read an article that, you know, he doesn't keep for Surrey, so he's
Folkes does.
You got Ben Folkes keeping, and so then you're getting into these high-pressured situations. You're getting into these multi-day test matches of the most intense cricket you ever play. As a wicket keeper, you're involved in so many of those days. And so there's a few questions about that with him. You know, there's talk of him being quite tired towards the Indian series. He dipped off a bit. You know, and so it's now that sort of. I think he's a fantastic player. You know, don't get me wrong. You know, and I've liked his wicket keeping. And the trouble is, though, the press, once they get into you as a keeper, once they have a little hook, they've got you. And then if you just give them, and I was brilliant at this, I gave them continual nuggets to keep feeding off.
Well, you
and
kept
that was
clanging things, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I was an absolute stinker. You know, I dropped just when I thought I'd drop one, and here we go. And that's what you can get over. It's hard to get over drops, but you can get over them, especially when someone, you know, Travis Head got out fairly soon. And that's the ultimate for a keeper. Oh, I've dropped one I should have. Then your mate helps you out and gets you out. Bit of relief. But it's still then in the back of your mind, next catch. And it's not until you take that next catch does that also help dissipate that feeling of dread of what you've done. So there is pressure building on him. You know, he hasn't. Again, his runs, unbelievable at the start of his career, just dipping off. And that's the hard bit as a keeper now, twofold. You've got to be highest quality keeper, highest quality batter. And if one starts to go down slightly, the scrutiny's on you.
That's an interesting point, isn't it? Because where on one side you've got stability of a team, on the other side you don't have the competition for places. Does England suffer from that, do you think?
What's competition for places?
Well, yeah, because if you look at the England side, that's a very settled side. Before we came into the Ashes series, it was written 1 to 7, done. It's not going to change. And just the bowling makeup would change circumstances. Yet no one really speaks about the Lions in a sense of these are the ones who are pushing for a test place, or Jamie Smith, as you just said, could be under pressure. Because if we went out and spoke to people who knew a bit about cricket and asked them who's keeping wicket for the Lions, I don't think anybody would know, nor who's the opening batsman if Zach fails or Duckett fails. So do you think there's too much of a separation between the A side and the B side effectively?
You've just alienated the whole of Somerset because they know
The
who's
brothers, is it?
keeping.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
and
know.
their reputation is outstanding.
It
So
is,
there is
yeah.
a bit, but I still would argue I don't think they're at the quality of Jamie Smith yet. Because from what I've seen across, with his batting, some of the way he's changed test matches, and his keeping has been pretty steady. All right, he's just as happens, it's maybe having a little bit of a dip off through, and it's one catch, but
Yeah, sure.
And as happens, the opposite number has had an absolute stormer. Couldn't have kept better. Yeah, typical. He could have dropped one to help him out or something,
exactly.
but no,
he's taking. He even takes that blooming one up in the air by Marnus, who's trying to knock him out of the way to catch it himself.
Yeah, there's bits about that. That's where his Aussie rules background came into it, and that's what helped him take. What a load of it was just a fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. When did you as a right hand bat, did you have a preference? I know you said about the angles of the bowler around the wicket or over the wicket in terms of where you position yourself, but did you find it easier to go to your left or to your right?
To my right.
To your right,
because that's it's the way you practice, and it's predominantly the way you move a lot of the time. It's the way you're set up, but it also it's something I tell young keepers when I work with them now is that you have to equalize what you're doing. Okay, and because we can get locked into just doing one way. So it is that effort to work with, but you will have a natural strength side. If you're if you're a right hand catcher, and as much as we try to catch in the middle, you'll have a dominant hand as a wicket keeper. You catch it. So moving to my right is going to my strength. Okay, so whereas moving to my left, if I still tried to catch it a little bit my right hand, it takes a lot. It's a bit more awkward. So I had to be aware of it. So I still think there will be a preference, and that generally comes down to hand dominance.
So Jamie Smith's right hand bat has got a bit too far behind the batter when the bowler's coming round the wicket to a left hand bat. And therefore those two things really are just slight technical and practice things that he could work on, and we'll see the next time that the ball goes. There's left-hander nicking off, I guess. Actually, on that, where you position your slips, does that if you've got a left-hand bat and you've got bowler bowling over the wicket where you've got the angle across the batter, do you position your slips differently to where if it was around the wicket?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm going again. The majority of the angle I'm working with, and that is taking me to my left. Left-hand batter. Right out, that's taking me, and I'm comfortable there. Coming round the wicket like Freddie did to Justin Langer and all those left at Gilchrist, I shuffled a bit straighter, and I made sure that Trez at my first slip, I made sure he was a bit tighter, because exactly like what happened today is like Trez, just come a bit tighter, because if I get caught going stump side and there's a nick, I want you there. To help me out. And so you narrowed when it was that sort of, and then you concertinaed and you allowed room for brilliance when the angles allowed it.
Yeah, apart from the Harmy ball, obviously, where who knew where you positioned then. Right, so sessions 1:30 for 1 at the end of the first session. Australia having got England out early with a great Marnus catch, making up for what he tried to do yesterday with Carey. 2:28 for 3, and then 3:78 for 6 at the close. No brainer, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, 3-0 England.
so
I wish.
I think well, I can't remember what we said yesterday, but I think it's fairly even, but maybe 2-1 Australia, I think it was at the end. So
Yeah.
with that, if you are winning, it's a bit like boxing, isn't it? If you're winning rounds, winning sessions, you're winning test matches, aren't you?
Should be. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the nature of today was a deflating day for England.
Yeah.
You know, you have that. They'll say, "Yeah, we're going to sleep on it. We're going to come back better tomorrow." But you've just been beaten up for a day. It's hard to,
Yeah. Yeah.
hard to do that. It's a mental challenge. Physically, you've got it as well, because those bowlers have, as much as they rest, they'll be in the ice baths. They'll have potentially sort of compression leggings on overnight to try and get that recovery. Sacks the massage. He would have been busy all night with them. He'd be up early again, sort of getting used to it. I suppose maybe that's one thing with day-night cricket. I just thought of it then, helping with the recovery.
Yeah.
Because, yes, they finished late, okay, and they're probably, not getting to bed before midnight, but then they're not starting until 2 the next day.
No, you've got a long
So
sleep.
yeah, and as you're into day 3, those bowlers prep, there's that bit of relaxation where, okay, as long as get to the ground for here, you're going to put, bit of individual prep that's going to get you ready. But in the morning, you could be in the pool, you could be doing something to really boost and aid that recovery, which in a normal day, you don't get the chance to do.
Yeah, that's true. Stokes hamstring cramp, I think, is what it ended up being. Bryden Castle looked pretty flat out. Is this actually I think they call it a moving day, don't they, in some other sports? But is this has this been a defining day in the Ashes?
No, I think it's too early to do that, because England have got the chance to still come back tomorrow, and hopefully clean up the Australian innings. Yes, there's a bit of work to do there. And then I think tomorrow, because likely is that our top order will be exposed to Stark under lights in the prime bowling conditions to the best pink ball bowler that's ever been.
Tremendous.
So tomorrow night's sessions, in those, probably, if Australia do it well, they'll bat through all of the first session and quite a way through the second one. So potentially the final 2 hours of tomorrow night's play could be massive.
Yeah.
It could be the difference between a drawn test match or a loss.
So no need to get up early tomorrow morning. Just set your alarms for 7 o'clock, have a bit of brekkie, and watch Mitchell Starc in action.
Wow. But it's still that we spoke about it before we came on. It's that hope, isn't it? And so, I woke up
it's
at
the
6
hope that
this
kills
morning
you,
because I
mate.
thought,
That's what they say.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think I messaged to you as like the Ashes of the 90s and early 2000s, because that's what it was. I sort of, you'd look at it, you'd look at the score, then I'd look at the highlights, which were drop catches, and and then the critique of the bowling, and you just thought, oh, that's why I went under my because I wanted to wake up. I wanted to see that Jofra had smashed 50 and we'd got to 400 and then we'd taken out the top order. Not quite.
No. One of those would have been nice, wouldn't it? But there you go. It is what it is. Right. You got to go get some lunch. You've had a busy day's teaching. I'm going to get this thing up onto the channels, and I will speak. Oh, it's Saturday tomorrow, isn't it? I'll speak to you then. I think it's Saturday tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
I've got the mighty Ash, my village cricket side. It's our Christmas dinner tonight, which incorporates also season awards. I didn't play much this year, so I'm not in line for anything. But it's always a great night at the local village. So a lot of farmers around, and we self cater. So the messages go out to various people. Last night I was peeling a load of spuds myself and Jen, we were on roast potato duty. So 3 trays of that. So they're done. They're ready. School-wise, we have a thing called La Crunch, which is us, St. Lawrence, here against our nearest sort of school, which is Chatham and Clarendon Grammar School. So we go to Thanet Wanderers, and so there's 2 floodlit matches. my younger son Tommy's playing in the under-15 match. And then you've got the first team after that. So it's an exciting day. So what I've witnessed so far, I'm going to forget. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the day.
Fantastic. You do that, and we'll make sure, given the fact you've got an awards ceremony tonight, you're lucky actually because play doesn't finish at 11:30, so we don't have to do anything before that. But let's see what state you're in when we chat tomorrow, mate.
Will do. See ya.
Cheers, pal. Bye.